guys ready? It's that time. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the Thursday, June 18th, 2026 Subdivision and Utility Advisory Committee. We'll start with opening announcements.
Before we begin the agenda, the Wichita-Sedgwick County Metropolitan Area Planning Commission would like to take this opportunity to welcome everyone to this public hearing. Copies of the agenda for today's meeting, the public hearing procedure, and Planning Department staff reports on all agenda items are available on the counter in the lobby. The Planning Commission's bylaws limit the applicant of a subdivision application and his or her representatives to a total of 10 minutes of speaking time at the start of the hearing on that item, plus up to 2 minutes at the conclusion of that hearing. All other persons wishing to speak on agenda items are limited to 3 minutes per person. However, if they feel that it is needed and justified, the Commission may extend these times by a majority vote. All speakers are requested to state his or her name and address for the record when beginning to speak. When you are finished speaking, please share your name, address, and the case number on the sheet provided in the room. This will enable staff to notify you if there are any additional proceedings concerning that item. All speakers at the podium, please remove your face mask before speaking into the microphone.
We'll move to roll call.
Yes, ma'am. Johnson is absent. Duell is absent. Klontz?
Here.
High? Mader? Williams Bay? Austin is absent. I show 4 members are present and 3 are absent.
Thank you. Okay, we will determine the consent items. And as a reminder to the applicants or agents, if you agree with staff comments, you will not need to take action. However, if you disagree or have additional information, that's your time when you're called upon to pull the item and so that we can hear it. We'll start with item number 2, sub 2026 00025. It was deferred from the May 21st subdivision. It's a one-step final plat, Kessler Estates on West 55th Street South and a quarter mile west of South Seneca. We'll get an update from staff.
No additional comments or updates for this plat.
Okay, thank you. Any updates from the Utility Advisory Board?
Chris with Public Works and Utilities. I had missed an easement when reviewing the plat and had asked for, it's an existing easement on the plat. I just would like to change it from just drainage to drainage and utility easement and sent that over last night. So the agent can answer for that.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other updates? Are there any questions from the commission? Would anyone like to hear this item? Seeing none. The agent or applicant, do you agree with staff comments?
Good morning. I'm Bill Fox, Garber Surveying Service, 544 West Douglas, Wichita. We are generally in agreement with all the staff comments. There's a little bit of conflict with some of the utilities, whether we can or cannot connect to public utilities. But we're working on that with staff, and I'm sure we'll get it worked out.
Okay.
And as far as Chris's email that he sent last night, I got that, and we're fine changing that easement to drainage and utility.
Okay. Do you think that will be resolved by next week's meeting for MAPC?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Based on that, we can move back to commission. Is there a motion? We have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Williams-Day and a second by Commissioner Mader. All of those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Passes 4-0. Next item, item number 3, sub 2026 00030. It was deferred from the June 4th meeting. It's a one-step final plat, the Tallgrass Reserve 1, located east along South 391st Street West and a quarter mile south of West 63rd Street South. It's in the county. We'll hear from staff.
Just a quick update on this. Item B, County Stormwater Management, they have approved the drainage plan, subject to submittal of the floodway reserve easement, and a cross-lot drainage agreement is recorded with the plat.
Okay, thank you. Any updates from the utility board? Seeing none, would any commissioners like to hear this? I would actually like to hear this case. So we will go ahead and get a full report from staff.
Greg Sharon, planning staff, here to present Tallgrass Prairie 1 plat. If you go to the plat, please. This is a 6-lot subdivision in the county. There are no waivers requested by the applicant. Staff comments, item A, MABCD, this is within, is in the county, so test and a memo shall be attained. Item B, as mentioned, County Stormwater Management has approved the drainage plan subject to the reserve and cross-lot drainage agreement. Item C, Sedgwick County Fire advises plat need to comply with service drive code. Item D, County Public Works approves of dedications, access controls, and request that a public road be constructed as part of plat of Tallgrass Prairie 2. Item E, planning, just a bearing need added along the south line of plat. Item F, county surveying to review at the time of final Mylar submittal. Item G, Evergy, the plat is not served by Evergy. Item H, Sedgwick County Electric Co-op has reviewed the plat and requested additional easements. And item I, Phillips 66 will work with the developer to possibly modify easements in the area. So with that, I will stand for questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the advisory board for staff? Seeing none. I do have a question, Greg.
Okay.
The fire department's not here to comment. Do you know who serves this area?
Who?
Which fire department serves district?
My guess would be the county, since it's in the county. So,
This is Dana Sherman, Sedgwick County Public Works. This is Fire District Number 1's territory.
Okay. So I have in my notes that Cheney Fire is actually who serves this district. So I was just wanting clarification on that.
Justin Wagner, County Councilor. I did want to note that to the extent that there's an item in there on the service drive code, that applies in my understanding. I'm looking at Daniel and planning staff, but I believe that applies in all unincorporated areas of the county and not just where Fire District Number 1 is located.
Okay.
That's correct. So the fire district typically comments on the service drive code requirements on all plats.
Okay, I was looking more at response times is kind of where I was going with this question. Good timing. I'll let you get settled in.
Robert Timmons, Sedgwick County Fire District Number 1. Anything that far west, township is 6 miles by 6 miles, and that's within 6 miles of the county line west. So that would be under contract to be served by Cheney Fire.
Okay, thank you. Do we have, Greg, do we have any comment from Cheney Fire on this? with it, I guess, being outside of,
No, I
Service
didn't
code,
receive
there's
any
no-
comments
okay.
from Jeannie.
okay. Thank you. Do we have any other questions for staff? Seeing none, would the agent or applicant please approach the podium? You have 10 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record.
Good morning, Dan Garber, Garber Surveying Service Agent for the applicant. 2908 North Plum Street in Hutchinson and 544 West Douglas in Wichita. We are generally in agreement with the staff comments. Item D4 requests a public road be constructed as part of this plat or Tallgrass Reserve to provide future access to the area not included in the plat. So this, down here is Tallgrass 1, Reserve 1, and up here is Tallgrass Reserve 2, which you're coming to later in this agenda. Our original plan for Tallgrass 2 was 4 lots with a driveway reserve down the west side for 3 of those, and 1 down the east side for 1, plus access to this back area that's unplatted because it would be 20 acres or larger tracts. It was pointed out that with the driveway down the west side, we don't have 660 feet before we get to this drainage culvert, and we might want access east of that, and so that would be, that wouldn't fulfill the distance requirements. So we redesigned Tallgrass 2 to only have 3 lots with 1 driveway down the east side. Now we have 660 feet. So this unplatted area here, which is 100 acres, can have access through this area. And so they could put up to 3 properties back here on a joint access driveway. And then the same thing over here, these 2 properties, if they want to cut it in 1 or 2 pieces, they could have joint access here. The flood zone A, there are no floodplain elevations determined for that, and it's really, they're farming right through it. So it's, it probably floods sometimes, but it's not like it's a creek that they can't get across or something like that. So we believe that we've satisfied the access requirements so that a public road would not be required here. That's all that I have, but I would stand for any questions.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from the Utility Advisory Board? Seeing none, any questions from the commission? Seeing, oh, go ahead, Commissioner High.
Yeah, this is an area kind of I drive a lot through. I'm going to Norwich and heading out south with Cheney and so forth. So it's this is kind of really far out into in the country, in the rural area. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And as far as fire access, Cheney has to cross the river to get to this, cross a bridge over the river to get to this?
I'm not sure without looking at the.
So there's a couple roads, one of them which the road, the bridge is closed, and the other one is load rated. So I want some clarification on that.
Okay. I'm not familiar with that situation. I'd have to look at the bigger picture.
And if this was a single family that wanted to move, that's fine, but this is going to be a subdivision of which they're going to sell lots to, and people buying them may not know the situation. And so that's the question I have.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Daniel Schramm with Sedgwick County Public Works. So in regards to that, with the service drives, that is something that we do run into where there are only 3 lots that are allowed on a service drive. And when people do come up and they would like to do a lot split, they are often told we cannot get another lot on there when we do not have public roads in these areas. Regarding the bridges and the closures, are you talking about 375th and 391st? Okay, so 375th, and I don't know my load postings off the top of my head, but that was closed and repaired about a year and a half ago on that one for some deck repairs. The bridge on 391st was closed for multiple years due to a bridge inspection, and that bridge was repaired and reopened a few months ago. So that bridge is now open on that gravel road directly south of Cheney. But I don't know about the load postings off those bridges, on those bridges off the top of my head.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead.
Robert Timmons, Sedgwick County Fire District Number 1. A point of clarification. When I first got in, I stated that this was served by Cheney Fire, and for emergency responses, that is a true statement. All areas of unincorporated Sedgwick County, through a MOU with MABCD, Sedgwick County Fire District 1 sets policy and code for all the unincorporated areas. And one of the reasons why these plats like this are so problematic is if I go in tomorrow and buy lot 3, and I decide I'm gonna split it, constitutionally, that's my right. But now I don't have a wide enough easement to put a roadway in, and I'm limited on what I can do with my property because I cannot put a 4th lot on this service drive. And there's not enough room to put a road in. And we're running into this all over the county as we speak.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions for the applicant? Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
seat. Is there anyone else from the public who would like to speak on this item? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the commission for discussion or a motion. I do have a question for staff. Director Wadle, on May 19th, the Board of County Commissioners met with planning staff to discuss water availability and minimum lot size. Can you give us an update on that, please?
Certainly. So, and if you don't mind, I'll give you an update on that, and then we can talk a little bit about access easements. So, in terms of the update with the county commission, planning staff and the counselor's office have worked on drafts with possible amendments to the Unified Zoning Code to address that issue. That was based on feedback that was received at that county commission staff meeting. So, we talked with staff earlier this week, and it sounds like we are going to look to schedule possibly a staff meeting to discuss that with the county commission in early July. So when that gets scheduled, I'll let you know so that you can either be in attendance if you wish, or you can watch online if you'd like.
Okay, thank you.
And then the second part is a reoccurring theme of access to properties and what is allowed by the regulations, and then what are some of the complications that have resulted. You've heard from County Fire and from County Public Works about some of the difficulties that are created when using private access easements or reserves to get access to properties. And it's come up with this one. So one thing in the future is possibly looking at some options for regulation changes that could address that. And so we can talk about that towards the end of the agenda, but that is certainly an option that we have, and I think it's something that we're reviewing in terms of possible options for language. So if there's an interest from you all to see some of that, we can discuss that towards the end of the agenda and talk about if there'd be a good time to do that in the future.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other discussion? Or a motion? I move that we defer this case for 4 weeks until we can get more clarification from the Board of County Commissioners.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Klontz and a second by Commissioner High. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Passes 4-0. Next item Item number 4, sub 2026-00031. It was deferred from the June 4th subdivision meeting. It's a one-step final plat. It's the Tallgrass Reserve 2. We'll hear from staff.
Greg, Sharon, we will need to hear this because of what Mr. Garber was explaining. This was originally submitted as a 4-lot subdivision, and that is presented in your staff report. And then working out some access issues, they reduced 1 lot, got rid of 1 lot, so now it's a 3-lot subdivision. So if you could put that new subdivision on the screen, please. So this is Tallgrass Prairie Reserve. Like I mentioned before, this was originally a 4-lot subdivision. This is now a 3-lot subdivision. It is located in the county. There are no waivers requested by the applicant. I go through staff comments. Item A, MABCD, shows test and memo will be needed. Item B, county stormwater management, revised comment, drainage plan for Tallgrass Reserve 2 is approved on condition that cross-lot drainage agreement is recorded with the plat. Item C, county fire service drive code compliance. Item D, county public works right-of-ways dedications are approved, access controls are approved. Platters text change, and homeowners association for ownership of reserves. Item E, planning staff just need to plat a 300-foot minimum lot width. Item F, county surveying to review at time of final plat. Item G, plat is not served by Evergy. Item H, Sedgwick County has reviewed the plat and requests additional easements. And item I, Phillips 66 will work with developer to modify easements in the area. So with that, I will stand for questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions for staff from the Utility Advisory Board? Seeing none. Any questions for staff from commissioners? Thank you. We'll have the applicant or agent approach the podium. You'll have 10 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record.
Dan Garber, Garber Surveying Service, 544 West Douglas here in Wichita. Agent for the applicant. So this revised layout of the lots and reduction by 1 is meant to meet the staff requirements. And so the item D1, requesting a public road be constructed. I just want to say that the subdivision regulations allow for joint access reserve. We were doing these with easements, and it was discovered that those should be reserves instead of easements, because the reserve then is owned by those 3 lot owners jointly, and they own and maintain those. And these properties have been purchased by the developer with this in mind, that the subdivision regulations allow this. And so to have Tallgrass 1 not approved over this is a huge concern for him and for us. But on Tallgrass Reserve 2, we don't think there's a need for a public road. We've rearranged the lot layout to do away with that requirement. Same with, it says lot 4 doesn't meet the 200-foot minimum lot width. We got rid of lot 4. Otherwise, we're in agreement with staff comments.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions for the agent? Go ahead.
Yeah, Robert Timmons, the Sedgwick County Fire District 1. Being how this, if it remains a service drive, maxes out for 3 residential lots, I would ask that the access easement end at the south end of lot 2, so that it's not assumed anybody buying property to the south of Lot 3 has access through that driveway.
Any other questions for the agent or applicant? Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone from the public who would like to speak on this item? Seeing none, bring it back to commission.
With the comments from fire, I would move that we approve this per comment and as submitted with the comment by county fire included that easement ended at the end of lot 2.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Mader. Do we have a second? Go ahead, Commissioner Williams-Bay.
Is the applicant in agreement with that?
Yes, I believe we could make that adjustment. It will increase the size of Lot 3 a little bit, and, but that's all that's needed to there.
Thank you.
Was that a second? We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Mader and a second by Commissioner Williams-Bay. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? 1 no. Passes 3-1. The next item, sub 2026 00032. It's a one-step final plat. The Sponsel second edition was deferred to September 3rd. And with that also, hopping over to item number 11, sub 2026 00038. It's the one-step final plat for Prairie Willow edition. It was also deferred to the September 2nd meeting. With that, we'll move to item number 6. Director Whittle.
Yeah, I just wanted to check in on the date on that one. I believe that may be July 2nd.
Okay. July 2nd. Okay. Item number 6, sub 2026 00036. It's a preliminary plat for St. John Paul II Independent School Edition. It's on North 21st Street West and a quarter-mile east of West 135th Street North. It's in the county in the 3-mile ring. We'll hear from staff.
There are no additional comments or additions to this report.
Okay, thank you. Any updates or comments from the Utility Advisory Board? Go ahead.
Again, this is Chris with the City of Wichita Public Works. I again apologize for the late submission yesterday. I talked to Thomas a day or two ago about changes to the plat or whatever and how that would affect our comments. And so I'd sent those over late last night. And so if Thomas could speak to whether those are doable or if we still need to work through those. Thank you.
Any other comments?
I don't know if this was a request to see if we should hear this or put it on consent, but I'd like to hear this case.
Okay,
That's where we're at.
we'll go ahead and hear the full case.
Greg Sharon, planning staff, here to present St. John Paul II Independent School Edition. This is a one-lot residential subdivision in the county and within the 3-mile ring. There is one waiver requested, and that is from lot to depth ratio. Go through staff comments. Item A, MABCD, soils test and memo needed. Item B, County Public Works, requested no protest agreements, acquisition fees, request utility easements. Item B, County Public Works request continued access control along North Forest View Street except for one 40-foot opening. County Fire states the code will need to comply with service drive code. And actually, this is City Fire. City Fire, not County Fire. States that municipal fire hydrant and water supply should be required. Item E, county stormwater management states drainage plan is approved. City stormwater management, no issues found by the city. Item G, city environmental health, irrigation well comment. Item H, city traffic approves of right-of-way and opening. Item A, 8I, planning department comments. This is identified within the Wichita bicycle master plan for long-term bikeway network. And if you go next slide, that is highlighted. So there will be right there in the red, it identifies that little brown squiggly line through that area is a proposed bike path through the master plan. So with that, I request a 25-foot easement dedicated to allow for that bicycle path. Item J, county surveying to review at time of plat submittal. Item K, Evergy has reviewed the plat, will not need to request additional easements. And item L, Sedgwick County Electric Co-op requested additional easements, and those have been forwarded to the agent. So with that, I will stand for comments.
Thank you, Greg. Are there any questions for staff? Go ahead, Director Weidel.
Yes, ma'am. Greg, it's pretty difficult to see exactly where that is. Can you, using the mouse, can you go back to the plat and then show us where that location is?
I believe it's right here along the creek area. So it would go pretty much along. It's hard to tell from, that map where it actually is.
Okay. And then can you go back to the bicycle network map and then can you show how it fits into the larger system? Can you describe that for us, please? So it looks like it goes north-south.
Right, yeah. And this is the only for the master plan that I found, so it's a little kind of difficult to see because they don't have blow-up views. At least I can find some of that area.
But I think in order to help folks, it's that brown line that's really
Yeah,
squiggly,
it's
and it
this
goes.
coming through here, and then it kind of goes down through there. Oh, there you go, thanks. Yeah. So it's connecting through here and then down through, which I assume is that creek that was on the plat. And then it goes through here and then disperses out to the east and south.
Commissioner High?
Is that an existing bike path or a future bike path?
This is a proposed long-term bike path. Yeah, I believe it's, long-term, you can't see, but long-term bikeway network.
Are there any other questions for staff? Thank you. Applicant or agent, you have 10 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record.
Good morning, Thomas Joyce with Bachman Company, agent for the applicant. Also with me today are Jason Minges and Byron Nordis, President and Vice President of the board for the school. So if there are any specific questions for them, they'd be happy to answer. But we are in general agreement with the staff comments, except for a couple of them. Just going through the list. Some of the updated comments from City Public Works. I guess a little background here. This is going to be an independent school. They're looking to build about a 15,000 square foot new building toward the southwest of the property. They've got currently 100 kids in their school, over about 50 families. The max that they're looking for their enrollment is 150 students, and those are grades K through 8. And so that's kind of the long term here. This site was chosen for a little bit of the kind of seclusion and the kind of agricultural location there with the old Eberly Farms and the existing playground and all the structure and everything. So we're going to leave all those structures in place. And then again, looking to build that new building there toward the southwest. We are looking to stay in the county. This is surrounded by county properties, even though it is fairly, you kind of think it's city of Wichita. It is still currently in the county. We're not looking to annex. Again, with this being an independent school, looking at the cost of the improvements and everything, we've had lengthy discussions with MABCD, with County Public Works, County Fire, going through this process just to kind of see what the improvement costs are going to be for the school. So we are not looking to connect to city water and sewer at this time, but still realize this is a preliminary plat, and so we want to keep working with all the departments involved to keep moving forward. That's kind of why we went with the preliminary instead of a one-step. Just realize there's probably a lot to work through still. The comment from County Public Works requesting access control along North Forest View Street. That's that street that's going to come in here. In talking with Daniel Schrant and with Lynn Packer, there's an existing driveway that's not paved that the school is looking to continue using. We had first drafted that as a contingent right-of-way. There is a 35-foot right-of-way that exists directly to the west of that. So we were going to give 35 for a total of 70. County Public Works wanted it to be dedicated with the plat, but then there was some conversation about paving. And we think that maybe the best solution is actually to go backwards a little bit and make that a contingent right away, contingent upon any development to the south or to the west. But again, preliminary plat, we're looking to still have those conversations with County Public Works. The bike path easement that Greg had discussed, we don't see that is a suitable location for a bike path. Again, this is going to be an elementary school coming along the backside of that creek. There's playground equipment. There's structure back there that kids are going to be using. We don't want the possibility of free come and go on the bike path to see equipment vandalized or have security issues. And it's also, again, kind of if you've seen on the aerial, it's heavily wooded back there. There's floodway back there. Just construction of a path back through there is going to be prohibitive. So we don't think that is a suitable location for a bike path easement, and so we disagree with that comment. I think I've covered everything. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions for the agent? Commissioner Williams Bay?
Yes, sir. Could you point out with the mouse where the new building will be constructed?
Yes, sir. I believe we're looking maybe in this area. That'd be the front of the building, where the mouse is.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. Is there anyone from the public who would like to speak on this item? Go ahead.
Christopher Stone, City of Wichita Public Works. I just wanted to go on record and just say what our requirements are. We do need petitions for water and sewer. Main benefit fees for water and sewer would be due if a line would be constructed. Outside city rates would be applied to the water if it's going to stay in the county. And if you do connect to us, then a outside city water and sewer agreement would be required, and as a condition of which the applicant waives the owner's right to protest annexation by the city of Wichita. And we just are requesting additional easements, but we can work with that.
Understood.
Any other questions?
Robert Timmons, Fire District Number 1. And just a point of clarification on my comments after conversations with Mr. Joyce yesterday, changing the word shall to may on the fire hydrant requirement, because we do not know yet at this time what the building will look like, what the fire flow will be, and if a fire hydrant will be. So I will concede and change my word shall to may.
Thank you. Any other questions?
So I just want to talk a little bit about the driveway and North Forest View Street as it's showing on the plat currently. First, our comment about access control. That is not going to be necessary. This when this eventually becomes a road, whether it's as right-of-way or contingent right-of-way, we would actually encourage access to this road from adjacent properties. That's the point of a local or a collector street. This isn't going to be an arterial or anything like that. But with that said, the reason why the comment is there is because as this is currently constructed, this is a service drive. A service drive can serve up to 3, I'm going to say buildings. And there are currently 2 houses to the south of this this development, and then we have the school, so that would be the 3rd. So similar to what we do out in the county where we have service drives that can serve up to 3 houses, this is similar to that situation. So the access control is, the intent of it being there is to say, hey, we can't have more houses come onto this street when something develops to the west. I think we can take care of that, maybe through some comments if this is going to be just remain as a service drive. So I'm okay with there not being access control on there, but it may be a temporary kind of a strange situation if another house tries to connect to it, because it will would not be allowed per your service drive code. So second, as it's shown on this plat, we have a full right-of-way dedication, which is adjacent to the existing 35-foot. In a normal situation, when we have a half-street right-of-way and then another development comes in, it's usually on the plat that the second development that's coming in and dedicating the remainder of the required right-of-way is the person that is responsible for constructing the road. So in this case, and this is a very unique case because it's not contingent right-of-way that's currently out there, we would have full right-of-way. And so in our subdivision regulations, if we had full right-of-way, that would require a road to be built in there as part of Section 8. That would be a required improvement. So that's what we were working with Thomas on, to make it clear, when is this road going to be required to be constructed? As it's shown on this plat with full right-of-way, that would be as soon as this is platted, or I think technically within 2 years of it being platted. But the contingent right-of-way switch to that, it would need to indicate when is that going to happen. Is that when there's another house constructed to the south, or when something plats to the west? Either way, in both those cases, it would be very unique and not covered by the current regulations.
Any other questions? Thank you. Director Wadle?
Yes, ma'am. Just for clarification purposes, Greg, I do have a question for you. Sorry, but it relates to Chief Timmons' comments. Greg, earlier you had mentioned that in this report, item D is city fire, but it appears that Chief Timmons is the one who submitted the comments.
Yeah,
Should that be?
sorry, I misspoke.
Okay,
So, yeah.
thank you. Thanks for the clarification,
Yeah.
because then Chief Timmons, your comment was that the second one states municipal fire hydrant and water supply may be required.
10-4, and as Daniel said, this is an anomaly. The entirety of the Eberly Farm Office Park is still in unincorporated Sedgwick County, as well as the existing Eberly Farms to the south of it and the old wedding venue. All of that is still in unincorporated Sedgwick County, which puts it in Fire District 1's code purview.
Thank you. Commissioner Williams-Bay.
Yes, this is a question for staff. There was mention of the bike path. Is that something that staff has an issue with, them not wanting that in the area?
Scott Wadle from the Planning Department. There are multiple departments that are involved when it comes to bikeways and bike paths. So you have, and this is a city of Wichita. Although this is a county plat, it is a city of Wichita plan that identifies the location of future bike paths. And in this case, this is I believe this property is in the urban growth area for Wichita, which is why the city of Wichita plan identifies paths out in the unincorporated county. Now, in this instance, Greg sent out an email to City Public Works, also to the City Park Department about this one. In terms of the desire for the connection or the need for the connection, it just becomes tricky. These ones along waterways are just flat out tricky because if you miss out on a segment, it really makes it quite difficult for the rest of the path to make sense, just because there's nothing to connect to. So I don't know. In terms of, are there imminent plans to construct something here? No. Is there anything programmed in the CIP to fund it? No. So so it's a little bit difficult to answer your question in terms of the need for it because we've notified 2 other departments about it and no one's really kind of here to advocate for it. So.
Is there anyone from the public who would like to speak on this item? Seeing none, we can bring this back to commission for discussion.
On this, I'm always gonna have a problem with taking out any bicycle easements, in that it just doesn't cost the developer anything. It costs them some land that they're gonna work around. He said it's really not very buildable. Okay, so they probably won't use it, and if it is built, it'll be built at public expense rather than the developer. So I would strongly wanna keep that easement in, for some continuity again, if we get an opportunity someday.
I agree. I think that we should be forward-looking and preserving those easements for the future. Commissioner High?
I agree with both parties because I'm a bicyclist. I use all the bike lanes I can. But I'm sure that the master bicycle plan didn't anticipate a school coming in this area. And so I understand safety. So I'm not for sure if we can require a fence like there is downtown on the golf course.
Scott Wadle again. Yes, there are multiple instances where fences have been installed alongside paths, even as part of a path project for security reasons. I'm going to have to look to city legal about whether or not it's within the purview of the MAPC as part of a plat to require it. At a minimum, I know you can certainly recommend that, but I don't know if you can impose it as a condition of it.
Just to make sure I understand, if they can impose the condition of a fence?
Yes, requiring that a fence be installed at the time of development for a bike path. Now, I would also note that there would be some tricky caveats to this because what if there is a desire for an entrance, or what if there's topography issues, or not quite sure how all that would play out.
Correct. At this point, this commission wouldn't have the option to put that restriction on there. They can suggest it, but that would be, I think, the extent of it at this point.
I'm sorry, just one more comment on it is that Public Works, when they're in the process of designing these, there's multiple opportunities for property owners and for members of the public to comment on the designs. The designs are also reviewed in public forums, such as the District Advisory Board, and ultimately would need to be approved by the City Council. So there are multiple formats for property owners and other individuals to provide input into the design of what they look like.
I'd be willing to make a motion on this if I can have some help crafting it. I'd like to move that it be approved as submitted, along with comments provided by staff, and including the bike path as it is presented in the long-term bicycle master plan.
Madam Chair, I did want to ask a question in terms of that motion. Would that just be a comment suggesting that the bike path would be included, or would that be intended to be a requirement in the motion?
My intent is that it be required per staff comment, as per staff comment.
And that's the easement for the...
Easement, yes, I'm sorry, easement. That's the word I'm missing.
And I'm the challenge on this, and I welcome any other comment if Jenna has any, or Daniel or anyone else. The challenge I see on this is that I don't know that any of that's required in our subdivision regulations for them to grant that easement. The unincorporated area in particular, and just to make sure I'm clear, was the applicant not in favor of that from their comments? I don't know that that can be required, but I would look to see if the city would have any view on that. But and just to make sure, and Daniel, I'm kind of looking towards your direction on this. Is there? I was trying to understand if this is in any of the public works standards that you have, if something like this would be required, because that would be an exception to what I just said, if that's the case.
Yeah, so just looking quickly through the regulations, first, we do not get into bike paths or those types of easements very often, but I do see in the regulations that in a section for, I believe I'm in the easement section, yeah, in the easement section, there is a paragraph on pedestrian access easements, and it says pedestrian access easements may be required on plats when an access easement is needed to provide a connecting link to public or private parks or school sites.
Based on what you just read, Daniel, I think I would modify my opinion to say that I think it is something that could be required. Is that how you're reading it too?
Yes, I believe so. Yeah.
If I may, I would also add that that's been the way that these have been handled by the city of Wichita in the past.
I did have one other comment unrelated to the bike comment, unless you need to finish up on that.
JR pointed out to me, and this is just more of a comment to the motion maker, that there were waivers as part of this as well. And so, and you can certainly get to that later if you want to, but I didn't want to forget to bring it up that if you would want to include that as part of your motion, and if the second would want to, that's something that could be done. But
absolutely, I intended to include that as per the submittal. So if waivers are submitted, yes, I do include that in my motion.
One item that I did not hear in the motion, I heard that you were going to accept it with some waivers and other things as presented, which that would include the full, just regular right-of-way for North Forest View Street. And there was a question that the applicant brought up about whether that was going to be right-of-way or contingent right-of-way. Right-of-way requiring the construction to a street standard, or contingent right-of-way and then designating at some future point someone else being responsible to construct that street.
Okay, then I'm going to need some clarification from somebody here. I was under the assumption that the submittal was with contingent right-of-way, and that's what I was planning to include. If that was if their submittal was for a contingent right-of-way.
My understanding is that their preference is for the contingent. However, County Public Works did provide a comment indicating full right-of-way, correct, Daniel?
Would you have a problem with
Let me clarify that. So the plat that's in front of me on the preliminary plat is right-of-way, not contingent right-of-way. We're okay with that. That would require paving of a street in there. I believe Thomas brought up that when they come back, they are considering changing that to contingent right-of-way, and then I believe making that contingent on a property owner, I think to the south or to the west, being responsible for construction of the street. But that's not currently on this plat.
Yes, that is correct. again, through several kind of, conversations before we got to this stage with Daniel and with Lynn, we had first had it as contingent. The county came back, they asked that it would be dedicated with the plat. And then after we had submitted the plat, there were continued conversations. And now I think we would like to head back toward the contingent right-of-way when we move to the final plat.
How do you feel about that? I mean, is that a deal breaker to the county? I mean, it's a huge expense to them if nothing else comes up and they build a street that's never used. So I guess I'm real hung up there.
Yes, so I believe the intent is that this will be a street at some point, whether that's now or when this property to the west develops. I mean, we're on the fringe of the city of Wichita. I mean, to the west of the property, to the west, it's already the city of Wichita. So I don't think it'll be long. It's a question of who is responsible for paying that. I think it will be a paved street at some point in the future. I'll leave that up to you guys.
If I may, what's the typical process? Like, how is this typically handled?
All right, so if we were on a blank slate, we had a plat coming in and they put in 70 foot of right-of-way, the subdivision regulations require that a street be constructed and that we get a surety of some kind, usually a bond or a letter of credit. And that street is supposed to be constructed within 2 years of the plat being constructed. In the instances where we have contingent right-of-way, maybe as a stub street or maybe it's a half street right-of-way dedication, the plat usually indicates that when the adjacent property owner develops, they will pay for that, the construction of that street. But that's not the case that we have here. In this case, the adjacent property to the west has already dedicated the half street right-of-way. It's not contingent right-of-way, it's just regular right-of-way. So when this, as it's shown on here, and they're dedicating 35 foot of right-of-way, that is a full right-of-way. And so that would trigger the construction of a street at that point. And so if it goes forward as is, there would be a street. What it would normally say is that when a development to the west dedicates the remainder of the half street right-of-way, they shall construct a street. That won't happen in this case because that half street right-of-way has already been dedicated. And so it's unusual because it's getting into a situation that the subdivision regulations do not cover.
If I may, and then Daniel, to what standard would the street be constructed? Are we talking county standard with gravel, or are we talking city standard?
I believe in the subdivision regulations, if the development has, if the road will be serving an industrial or commercial, or I think it says semi-public purpose, then it would be paved. If it's serving residential lots of a 1/4 acre up to 1 acre, that would be an urban standard, and so it would also be paved. If the lots were more than 1 acre, it would not be required to be paved. So in that case, it would kind of depend on what size are these lots going to be to the west.
Then along those same lines, who would be responsible for paying for the improvements then? Would it be the property to the west with a portion paid by this property, or would it be all of the roadway improvements paid by this property?
Typically, when we have contingent right-of-way, it's totally on some developer that's coming after the plat, the subject plat. But it would not be split.
If this is dedicated as full right-of-way as opposed to contingent, then how would the cost be split? Do you know?
those costs would be required as part of this plat to be constructed. They would be required to construct the road at that point.
100% of the costs would be borne by this property owner.
Correct.
Yeah, that's a problem we end up with these spot pieces. I am at this point uncomfortable with the whole concept of requiring a street that will probably be needed, but at this point is the street from and to nowhere if it is required. So I'm gonna withdraw my motion at this point. I'd like to see something settled on this that makes sense before we move forward. And I don't know what that is, but I'm gonna withdraw my motion.
Okay, motion withdrawn. Any other action?
Or are we looking for a motion to defer? Make a motion that we defer 2 weeks?
July 2nd?
July 2nd.
I'll second that. We have a motion to defer by Commissioner Williams Bay and a second by Commissioner Klontz. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? None. Passes 4-0. Next item, item 7, sub 2026-00027. It's a one-step final plat, Husami Second Edition. It's located east along South 143rd Street and within a half-mile south of East Harry Street. It's in the county in the 3-mile ring. We'll hear from staff first.
Just a couple of comments. Item G, City Traffic Engineering has removed their comments and has approved the plat, so there's no comments from City Traffic Engineering. And I should also note, nope, this is another plat, but nope, that's the only comment I have.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any updates from the advisory board? Seeing none. Any questions from the commission? Seeing none. Is there anyone from the public who would like to speak on this, or would the applicant or agent like to speak on this item? Okay, we'll go ahead and pull this item to be heard, if you'd like to speak on it.
Kirk Miller.
We'll hear from staff first.
You're going to speak first, okay.
You were good. Yeah, okay. Greg Sharon, planning staff, here to present Husami Edition. This is a one-lot residential subdivision in the county and within 3 miles of Wichita. There was a vacation 2026-21 to vacate the original Husami Edition, which included the original plat, as you see, going down to the subdivision and this little flag. So the original plat was that. So there was a vacation request to vacate that plat, the Husami Edition. So I go through staff comments, no waivers. I go through staff comments, MABCD, soils test and memo. Item B, Public Works and Utilities, quest easements, no protest agreement, petition for water. In the event annexation is not requested, this shall remain a county plat if water and sanitary sewer connections are requested. Outside city water and sewer agreement needed. Item C, stormwater management, approved the plat subject to minimum pad elevations being shown. Item D, city stormwater management, no issues with the city. Item E, Sedgwick County Fire, plat will need to comply with service drive code. Item D, Public Works advises the applicant only to have approved 40-foot access opening and requires 60 foot of road dedication along 143rd. Item G, as mentioned earlier, city traffic comments have been removed and city traffic approves of the plat. Item H, planning department just need minimum pad elevations and city signature on the plat since this is within the 3 mile ring. Item I, county surveying advises plat only to have one approved 40-foot access. sorry, I copied County Public Work. County Surveying will just need to review the plat and comment at time of final Mylar submittal. And item J, Evergy has reviewed the plat and will require additional easements. And with that, I will stand for questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions for staff? Seeing none, applicant or agent, you'll have 10 minutes to speak. Please state your name and address for the record.
Kirk Miller, K.E. Miller Engineering, 117 East Louis. I'm the agent. Going through the comments, and Greg had mentioned the vacation case, which is last on the agenda today for vacating the plat, so it's still coming up. But it's an interesting situation of how this is working out. We have an access easement on there, which is how they get access back to the existing house. They're not building anything additional. But what happened was with the original plat, it had a contingent right of way through here. And they built this auxiliary structure, got it permitted and everything, but the old plat didn't actually cover the auxiliary structure. Somehow it got through and they built it. So they were coming back and saying, okay, we want to do solar panels on this existing structure. Went to get a permit and it was denied because half of that structure wasn't in the original plat. So that's the reason we're replatting, to make sure everything in here falls within the plat. There are a couple city comments that, the first one says private water easement. That's fine because we already have the water there, the water services. This property is owned by the same owner owns all of this that owns this, but we're only platting this one piece. They want a 15-foot public utility easement for future public extension. I'm not sure how you do that without putting it on. I mean, it wouldn't be on this plat. It would have to be on a piece of property that's not being platted. And I'm not sure where it would run either, because if this gets platted in the future for some kind of a single family or something, then the chances are that if we did this easement by a separate instrument or something like that, it would be in the wrong spot anyway for whatever happened with the rest of that property. So I don't really know how to give that public easement or where to give that public easement. Same thing on the sanitary sewer, the next comment in here. The existing sanitary sewer is way back here. So we'd have to, I'm not sure how we would handle all that. But again, if it gets platted, that easement could be dedicated with that plat. If we were to dedicate some easement now, it would probably have to be vacated later, as opposed to, because you wouldn't be able to vacate it with the plat. It'd have to be a separate vacation case. He wants a petition for water, and we've already got a water service to here, so I don't know what we'd be petitioning because we don't know where a future water line would run. And the item 7, an event of annexation is not requested, shall remain a county plat. It's going to remain a county plat. And I think they've already got the water agreement probably, since this was done out in the county back in 2018, I believe. Then on the county public works, they're requesting a 60-foot road dedication. And again, we're not platting that area, so I'm really not sure how we would do that. Daniel can probably explain better how he wants that done, but those were the concerns I have at this point.
Daniel Schramm with Sedgwick County Public Works. In regards to the access control or the right-of-way dedication, yeah, I think that's, with this plat not being adjacent to the arterial, that doesn't seem to be like a feasible item on this. You know, I kind of view, this is very unusual to kind of have this island of a plat that's not adjacent to any public roads or adjacent to other lots that are being platted with it that are adjacent to the public roads. And the way that I kind of view this is basically a flag lot without the flagpole portion of that, because we've got access easement going to it. And so if this were a flag lot, we would only really be able to get the right-of-way dedication in that flagpole kind of location, that very limited area. One question, Kirk, on the access control where the access easement comes down through, on my copy, it was labeled, I can't read it on there to see if it's been updated. It says it's a temporary access opening.
The way I read it, it was a temporary access opening until such time there's an additional, from the original plat, there was an opening right here. So until such time as that road is built in there.
Okay.
And that road's not going to happen. It would run right into the auxiliary structure if it was put in.
So the access opening that is planned to be used by this lot, its access opening is labeled as a temporary access opening, but in reality, it's probably more the permanent access opening, the way that
Yes.
I'm understanding it.
Right.
Okay. So yeah, in regards to your questions about right-of-way dedication, I don't see how we can get 60 foot of right-of-way if no portion of this plat is adjacent to the right-of-way.
Are there any other questions?
Matt Schultz, Public Works. As far as the sanitary and water easements, so we don't know where it would go either, and we just kind of took our best guess because we're not designing it, but there is a requirement, to have access to water and sewer, and so if we platted like this and we split those lots, then that one service isn't going to be able to serve everybody else, and so in order to just allow access for something in the future, we are requesting some kind of sanitary and water easement, could be together. But we need something there so that, if someone buys that unplatted track and isn't playing ball with them and they split those lots, so they can still have water and sewer access.
If they're going to build on this other area, it's all unplatted, so they'd have to plat it. At that time, you could get your easements. Right now, you can't. This is the only place they can build.
Yeah, but they could still try to split that lot
Which
before
lot?
that. The one you're platting.
This one?
Correct.
I don't think you.
They may not
do it.
They may not want to or ever do it, but they still have the potential.
I don't even know how to answer that one. I'm looking at the layout of it. I don't know how you would split it into anything without demolishing what's there.
And maybe they do that. I mean, I don't know what the future holds.
Well, but then you can apply that to any county plat. I mean, this is a county plat. They have a septic system in right now. They have water coming off the arterial street.
Chris with the City of Wichita Public Works, maybe I can add a little bit. Earlier, it was said that this kind of had like a flag lot configuration, so they had access to water, and then now that they're removing their access to water, we are just asking for an easement so that if additional services are needed for whatever reason, you would have access to extend a public line. We wouldn't allow any other services to be installed now that you've removed the flagpole portion. And so if you needed access to water in the future, then you would have access. And about platting in the future, with the easement in place that you would put with this plat, we would make sure that there would still be a route to continue to this parcel or plat with any future plats.
Okay, your number one comment was you're requesting a 10-foot private water service easement, which is fine. And that'll be across the unplatted property. I don't know why there wasn't one to start with, but that's fine. We'll go ahead and put one on there and do that by separate instrument. But the other easement you're talking about would be by separate instrument. So you're saying come in and just give an easement from here to here or something like that. And then when you come in and plat it later, you would have to vacate that separate instrument easement as a separate case. If this comes in and gets platted for another lot, you would come in and do the easements at that time because you would know where they're going. I mean, as far as if you were to come in and demo this and split it, you could always get another 1-inch water line service back there.
We wouldn't allow another 1-inch service to go back there. You'd have to extend a line. By removing the flagpole portion, you've removed your access to our water. You can continue to use the service that you've got since it's there already, but we wouldn't allow another connection without an easement and an extension.
Well, at that time, they could come back and dedicate an easement and do it.
You may not own it, and per subdivision regulations, I don't know what section it is. 7-205 easements, item F, private utility easements. It does state that with a private easement dedicated for water sewer, you also have to dedicate a public water sewer easement and sign a petition.
Planning staff have any comments?
I'm going to look to Greg to share his insights on this.
Yeah, look, said I would defer to Public Works and that section of the ordinance that the regulations that you referenced regarding the private and the public utilities. If that's what the subdivision regulations state according to that section, then they would need to adhere to that in accordance with the subdivision regulations. But off the top of my head, I'm not quite sure what that section actually states.
Okay, let's, Greg, all right, I'll go ahead and I'll read it if everyone's comfortable with that. So this is 7-205F. I just want to double check, make sure I've got the right section pulled up here. Yep. It says private utility easements shall be established only when an easement is needed to cover an existing sewer service or water service line. The private easement shall be established by separate instrument and depicted on the final plat tracing along with pertinent recording information. The establishment of a private utility easement shall not be considered an alternative to guaranteeing the extension of sanitary sewer and municipal water to a proposed lot that is not already served by these required utilities within place private service lines. The establishment of a private utility easement over an existing utility service line shall be accompanied with the granting of a public utility easement at a suitable location for future extension of public utilities to directly serve a lot or building site benefiting from the terms of the private utility easement. A guarantee for this future public utility extension shall also be submitted.
Scott and Madam Chair, could I just, I wanted to chime in, and maybe I wasn't tracking, because I believe this easement would be a public utility easement that's being discussed, but I wasn't sure in terms of why we were talking about the private utility easements. Was there a connection there as to why that provision would be? Was it because the access to water? Was that the thought process on that?
Sure, yeah, they have a water meter that they're connected to just south of that, I don't know what that easement's called, the access easement, just south of the access easement is a water meter that they're connected to.
So there would be a private access easement between those two properties? Is that I was trying, because I guess I was thinking of this from the standpoint of this was gonna be a public water access easement, but not a private easement.
There would need to be two, one private water line easement to cover their current connection, and then a public to cover a future connection for water.
Okay, all right, thank you.
And I guess per this, we wouldn't need the sanitary sewer easement because they're not already connected to sewer, but they are connected to water. So a 15-foot utility easement will be needed for water.
Are there any other questions? Is there anyone from the public who would like to speak on this? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the commission for further discussion. Clarifications. It's very unique.
Is it possible, I feel like we're pretty far apart between the applicant. And I don't know, we need to litigate that. Is it possible that we defer this until the parties meet again and try to get their differences? Because it sounds like there's confusion.
So Matt Schultz, Public Works again. So the way I see it is, you know, these easements are required per the subdivision regulations, but if you all decided to allow a waiver or they requested a waiver and then you approved it, you could go that route. But as far as Public Works is concerned, you know, this is a requirement. They would need those easements. And so that's where we sit, but if a waiver is written, then.
And Scott Wadle, just adding that if a waiver is requested after a review of the subdivision regulations, we're now asking the applicants to provide justification for why the waiver is being requested, and that should be included as part of the application. If it is deferred, that could be an opportunity for the applicant to go ahead and put that in writing, so you would have that as part of the staff report to review.
I move that we defer this for 2 weeks for the staff and the applicant to get together and craft either changes to the staff comments or the applicant ask for waivers.
Okay, we have a motion to defer to July 2nd by Commissioner High and a second by Commissioner Mader. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Passes 4-0. Next item, item number 8, sub 2026-00034. It's a one-step final plat, the Prairie Creek Estates. It's on East 93rd Street North and North 95th Street East. It's in the county. We'll hear from staff first.
Just a quick comment, item B, County Stormwater Management has approved the drainage plan subject to floodway reserve easement and a cross-lot drainage agreement. So with that, I will stand for questions.
Thank you. Are there any updates from the advisory board? Seeing none, the applicant or agent, do you agree to staff comments, or would you like to pull this case to have it heard?
We agree to most of the comments. I'm Dan Garber with Garber Survey Service, 2908 North Plum and 544 West Douglas here in Wichita. Here again, we're seeing the requirement of a street.
We'll go ahead, we'll go ahead and just pull this case and have it heard. So we'll have staff present the report first. Thank you.
Greg Sharon, planning staff, here to present Prairie Creek Estates. This is a 4-lot residential subdivision in the county. There are no waivers requested by the applicant. Item A, MABCD, soils test and memo. Item B, as I mentioned, drainage plan approved with the condition of floodway reserve easement and cross-lot drainage agreement. Item C, Sedgwick County Fire requests a street separating lots 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 from 93rd Street to north side of the plat. Item D, County Public Works changes in the notary of the owner certificate and requests a 60-foot right-of-way for internal road. Item E, Planning Department, if public road is included, then a street stub connection to unplatted property to the east, west, and north would be required per the subdivision regulations. Item F, county surveying to comment at time of final Mylar submittal. And item G, the plat is not served by Evergy. So with that, I will stand for questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions for staff? Seeing none, we'll have the applicant or agent. Please state your name and address. You'll have 10 minutes.
Dan Garber, Garber Surveying, 2908 North Plum in Hutchinson, 544 West Douglas in Wichita, on behalf of the applicant. Here again, the applicant is using the allowance of joint access reserves to access these properties. He has not platted this area to the north. He could sell that in two 20-acre tracts or one 40-acre tract. And so he's allowing for access to those through this subdivision. And based upon the comments of requiring a street up through the middle, Public Works recommended or requested 60 feet of right-of-way for internal road. And so we revised that 40-foot joint access reserve to a 60-foot joint access reserve. Not really interested in building a county road there yet until there would be a need further north, and then they would have the 60-foot right-of-way for access. The property to the northeast up here already has their access on a 40-foot access easement. It's actually a fee title owned by them down the east side of the property. Other than that, I believe we are in agreement with the staff comments.
Okay,
Stand
thank
for
you.
any questions.
Are there any questions for the agent?
Thank you.
Daniel Schramm with Sedgwick County Public Works. First, I'll point out that when we do have an internal public road, it's 70 foot, not 60, so I think there was a typo on here. So if we're gonna do anything with that, that's a 70 foot width. So I think this kind of comes back to the earlier discussion of the service drives and how that fits in with the fire districts when it comes to splitting of lots and double frontages. But I just wanted to get out ahead of this and said if this was going to be a road, it would be 70 foot. And then per your comments, Dan, that you put it on here as a reserve so that it could be constructed to a public road standard at some future point. If we did do that, it'd probably be best to have that as a contingent as well, so that it could be a public road at that point.
We'll be happy to widen that reserve to 70 foot. I wondered about that when I read it. So we would make that 70 feet wide and take that out of the area of the lots and then add contingent right-of-way to that.
County Fire, do you have a comment?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Robert Timmons, Fire District 1. Part of our objection and wanting a public or private street or road through this development is, even as he commented, he may develop these at a later date, but with a 40-foot wide split between utility and access, it cannot be widened to a road at future date. And once he sells a 20-acre plot, if they decide to break it into 4 more 5-acre lots, there's absolutely no way legally by county code, i.e. the service drive code, in a 40-foot access to put a public roadway in there. And we need to start looking at these in a holistic approach. We've talked about that on multiple other plats in here. And I spent 2 hours on the phone in a different edition of a similar makeup. Well, that future's here now. Those people are wanting to divide their lots 3 or 4 times. And now that 200,000 was a number that came up, it's gonna cost him to change from a driveway to a public roadway. And so now he's stuck with a piece of ground he can't even get a building permit for because he can't use it. I think the holistic approach to these, you can do a phased plat with a public street, because then it doesn't matter what you develop in the future. You have a fire code compliant roadway to get apparatus in there. If you limit the access width to a driveway, you've completely destroyed any ability of a landowner to do anything with their land in the future. So that's my comment, and that's why a roadway is required, in my opinion, at this time.
Thank you.
So if we widen that to a 70-foot contingent right-of-way, if anyone to the north wanted to develop, wouldn't that satisfy the needs of the public road?
We left the fire code in.
I mean, I believe the subdivision regulations allow for this kind of service for the present use. And I don't know that we have to guarantee that a buyer of a 20-acre tract will have the ability to split it in the future. They may have to move to a smaller site, downsize somewhere else.
Yes, to his point, our current subdivision regulations do allow for service drives to serve up to 3 lots. That is in there. We did make the change probably a month or 2 ago, Dan, where we did have access easements and we switched to the reserves.
Right.
Because that is what is current in the subdivision regulations. As far as contingent right-of-way, we don't often see a reserve that is contingent. We see small portions of that at some portions, like maybe at the end of a roadway, where there might be just a 5 or 10-foot gap to the plat boundary. So I think this would work similarly to that, where someone could plat that. With that being said, a reserve that also has in a clause for contingent right-of-way. So the reserve is controlled typically by the HOA of that development. So if this 20 acres that's not included in the plat would like to make it a public road, these first 2 lots control whether that can or cannot happen, because they would be in control of that HOA. If it was put into a reserve. And then similar to the conversations earlier, when it comes to just full-blown contingent right-of-way, usually there's a clause in the plat, and there's example language in the subdivision regulations that says when future development happens on the adjacent plot, they shall be responsible for constructing the road in full. So in those cases, it would be the owner of the 20-acre lot. They would pay for the road through lots 1 and 2 and through their 20 acres, however far they need to take that road in there.
A follow-up question from County Fire. So are we talking, is the center hub is this where the 70-foot access is at? And will that be the only access? So if we put a driveway, in the 70-foot access between separating lots 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Now we currently have a driveway serving 4 lots. If we have a center core access, both of the side accesses need to go away so that we do not have double lot frontage access to different service drives. And that is where my concern and the holistic approach to these subdivisions need to come in, is because no matter what, once these lots are sold, the hours that county staff is spending dealing with people trying to teach them and educate them and help them get legal access to a property they bought is turning into a non-starter at this point.
Director Whittle.
Yes, ma'am. Justin and Daniel, this is probably most applicable to you, but section 7-201F in the subdivision regulations, I think it provides a mechanism that, as a planning director, I would advise that you consider for a reserve that's providing access. And it says, and it's not, I don't know that it's direct, that's why I want Justin to be aware of it, is reserve strips controlling access to streets shall be prohibited except where their control is placed with a governing body under conditions approved by the Planning Commission, or the platting of reserve strips is provided for in a community unit plan approved by the Planning Commission or appropriate governing body. I think the important part to that is to place control of the reserve with a governing body under conditions, so that it's not up to the property owners who would purchase these, but rather it would be with the governing body about when that converts to become right-of-way.
Which section was that in?
It was 7-201F. Even if that's not a direct applicability, I think, though, it provides guidance about how this can be addressed in a way that doesn't preclude or lock in the property to the north. I guess I would add a commentary, which is what we're seeing here through multiple plats is a use of a tool that is provided for and is authorized in the subdivision regulations, but it's being done in a way and a quantity that I don't believe was kind of envisioned at the time. And so you're seeing us trying to grapple with how to address this in real time in these meetings. So that's why this meeting, part of the reason why this meeting is taking so long, is because we are grappling with this.
I read the 7201F as the reserve strip controlling access to streets as not being a reserve strip that's perpendicular and connecting to the streets. I see that as a reserve strip that would be parallel and adjacent to the street, where maybe a developer would typically put berms.
Acknowledged. But I think the important part there is that it provides guidance about placing control with the governing body under conditions approved by the Planning Commission. And so my thinking is that in a similar fashion, they could do that with this.
And yeah, echoing some of Daniel's thoughts on that, but also, Scott, I get what you're saying. It is challenging because traditionally these contingent dedications have been for subsequent development that's happening down the road, but in a more, predictable way is probably the way to put it in some regards. If you can give me a second, I'm going to keep looking at the code and I'll chime in, but I wanted to check and see how that language is worded and how it might be able to fit into this as well, the contingent dedication language.
We'll pause then until we hear back from the counselor.
I could, I would also add another point, which is 7-201X directly talks about contingent right-of-ways.
And that's Scott, that's exactly what I was reading right now. And I'll read it. I'll cut out the parts that maybe are just specific to the city, but there's a portion that applies to the county. And I'd also look to Daniel if he wanted to opine further. It says the dedication of contingent right-of-way shall be provided upon the determination of the subdivision committee to allow for the city's future needs for urban subdivisions to provide potential street connection to the adjoining undeveloped property, to prevent the landlocking of abutting properties and to avoid an excessive number of individual driveways along section line roads. If adjoining the plat line, the contingent right-of-way dedication may be a half-street right-of-way. And then the portion that talks about the county is it says the platter's text on county plats shall note that the contingent right-of-way dedication shall become effective upon the platting of any adjacent subdivision having a street connecting thereto. The costs of constructing said street are to be borne by the persons or agency that owns said adjacent subdivision. Like Daniel was saying earlier, it's the second party essentially that comes in and has to pay for the remainder of that. I think I understand the concerns with the reserve is that you're giving control to almost a veto authority to the first developer if that's the way it would be done. But I understand why Scott was pointing to that one portion about it being allowed with the government. But I think if you do the contingent dedication, it's going to run with the property, and that would give some flexibility that could apply here. And Daniel, did you have any concerns if it would be done as a contingent in this case?
Well, I think the way that contingent right-of-ways are typically done is they're in a portion where there is going to be no road at that point. It's future. So maybe you have a road that's fully constructed, and then maybe there's a stub that comes off of that that's in contingent right-of-way, and that will be constructed at a later point. So in this case, if we were to do just contingent right-of-ways, no reserves or anything, we would have a contingent right-of-way across, let's say, properties 1 and 2 to the front of that area in the back of 20 acres. Well, a contingent right-of-way doesn't give anyone a right to utilize that space, so it would probably need to be overlapped with a reserve to allow that to be used by someone. And so, yeah, I think we've seen in the past where a reserve has included contingent right-of-way in the platter's text describing what the reserve is. That's where we get into that kind of veto kind of authority. Or there could be maybe an access easement, which again, that is not part of the subdivision regulations. It says specifically that they should be done via reserve. So in this case, we'd have a reserve with a contingent right-of-way overlaying it, or maybe included inside of the reserve. But I think just a contingent right-of-way wouldn't give any access to lots 2 or the 20-acre parcel in the back.
And I just wanted to add, I think that's a good idea, Daniel, to frame it that way to where you have the overlapping. I think that it'd be interesting to see how the applicant feels about that. I think that'd be worth inquiring, but I think that might be a way in this case to make that happen. And I think essentially you'd be relying on both the language Scott mentioned and the language I was reading in there, a combination of the two. Certainly the most common situation, like you said, Daniel, is when you're connecting the two properties, not expanding the width of the roadway in terms of contingent dedication. So it is, like Scott was pointing out, this is an area of our subdivision regs that isn't quite pairing up with some of the requests that are coming in.
One last comment from Fire, and I will be quiet after that, unless you have a question. Where the 2 access openings are makes lots 3 and 4 have access to a driveway on both sides of their property. I know we're going to say by reserve, we're going to dedicate this out. The real world effect of that is if lots 1 and 2 both sell first and they put a driveway in to satisfy both of those properties, when lot 3 buys, if it buys next, here's the real world practicality of this. They're going to say, well, I don't want to pay for a driveway all the way out on this side, so I'm just going to pay for a little drive over and connect with lot 2 and 1. And in that system, when that happens, there's no fail safes, there's no double checks until I drive out to do a driveway inspection. That puts 3 homes on one service drive, and we've landlocked 40 acres behind. And the holistic approach to these is to put a roadway in so everybody has direct access to a road, and it does not limit future growth, and it does not landlock anyone to the unplatted parcel behind. And for that, I'll be quiet.
If I may, to answer Scott's, or attorney's question, we would be amenable to the overlay of a contingent right-of-way over the reserve. I would point out that the reserve says it's to serve lots 1 and 2 and the unplatted area to the north. The subdivision regulations indicate, I believe, that the reserve is owned by the owners of those 3 lots. So anybody else who attempts to use that for their driveway would be encroaching, which would be enforceable through district court. So the real world is that the court can enforce that lots 4 and 3 do not use that until it becomes a public road. At which time, if they want to, they could give up their west driveway and use the public road.
Okay, do we have any other questions or discussion? Is there anyone from the public who would like to speak on this? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the commission for discussion or a motion. I'm sorry, I do have a question for the agent. Do you plan to connect to rural water?
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you.
You know, just as a matter of discussion, I'm having a hard time deciding what we have in front of us right now with all the conversations about contingent and non-contingent. For me to do anything on this, I'm going to have a clear explanation of what we have in front of us. Is what's here, what's been presented, acceptable to county staff at this point? I'm hearing it's not. Am I correct?
From Fire District 1 standpoint, no, it is not acceptable.
From Public Works standpoint and what's in the subdivision regulations allow for the reserves in this manner. We talked earlier about, I think there needs to be a small adjustment to the width because it wouldn't allow for that. That was a typo in our comments when it was provided. I think what this comes down to is, I think this meets all the requirements of the subdivision regulations, but there have been numerous instances where we have had property owners and home builders that have gone to MABCD or tried to get a permit through the fire district. Usually we're a little bit removed from that, but there's been a number of those items. So that's what this discussion is about, is how do we avoid those? And I think we're starting to have conversations about what the regulations need to say on that, but what the regulations say is shown on here.
That long answer just confused me, but I think I know what you mean. Yes.
As a member of the addressing committee, what concerns me on this as well is how these addresses will be assigned. If you because these 4 lots are the only plat right now. So if you make these plats consecutive by 4 numbers off of East 93rd Street North, and now at some future point, you're going to take this center access and make it a road. And who knows how many lots you're going to add to the north. There's no numbers left. somebody's gonna have to go in and legally change all their home warranties on their furnace, all their other stuff that they've put into this house under this address. They're gonna have to go to all that work, and it's so much easier to fix it at plating and not do phased development on a driveway.
My question then would be, if we were to deny this, what position does that leave the applicant in? How soon could they resubmit, or would we be better to again defer this one also till we get clarification?
I'd like to add some comments, and I'm going to look to Justin if he's for corrections if needed or additional information. When it comes to plating, the state has a very different philosophy on plating, and the state statutes the way that they allow plating is vastly different than zoning. So for plating, if you check the box, you meet the subdivision regulations, it says, my understanding is it shall be approved. So zoning is different. Zoning is more about impact and balance and golden factors and all of that. So what I think part of the challenge that you've got with this one is, my understanding is that it does meet what the current regulations are, but what you're finding is that the current regulations are having there are issues that are coming up with similar kind of designed plats that have been approved in the past and are now they're coming to the stage where people are wanting to develop the properties, and it's resulting in questions and issues that are coming up. And those are some of what you're seeing expressed by staff today is, well, we're dealing with this, and this has come up, and that has come up. And so what you've also seen expressed is, my understanding is you've had the applicant come forward and say, hey, this meets the subdivision regulations. You've had staff indicate that yes, it does, but at the same time, you've also had staff indicate we're not in favor, like at least one contingent of staff, we're not in favor of this. So I think the options that you're faced with are, if it does meet the regs, it shall be approved, but the question is under what conditions or what does that approval say? And I'm going to look to Justin and JR to provide any additional insights or corrections on.
If I may?
Go ahead.
This question for Daniel, to make sure I'm clear, your opinion is that it does meet the subdivision regulations. That's with the increased right-of-way on that reserve, correct? It does not, as it's sitting right there in front of you, it doesn't meet the sub-D regs. If the width were widened to 70 feet, it would meet the subdivision regs. Is that accurate?
It currently meets the subdivision regs. I'll just read the little portion over this drive portion. Reserves for private drive purposes may be platted to provide access to lots, provided a covenant is filed that not only sets forth ownership and maintenance of the private drive reserve, but also future reversionary rights to the reserve to the lots benefiting from the reserve. The platter's text shall reference the platting of the reserve for private drive purposes and shall state which lots are to be accessed by the reserve. For residential plats, not more than 3 lots shall be dependent upon any one private drive reserve for their access to either a public or private street system.
And the width that's shown of 40 feet?
The width is not part of that requirement. So the width was widened because there was a comment regarding a future street, upgrading this to a future street. So the width was widened to accommodate that comment to match the right-of-way requirements if it was ever upgraded to a street.
And that width would be 70 feet?
70 feet, yes.
Thank you.
But related to that is that a plat cannot be approved if it is in violation of any of the other codes that are related to the subdivision process, and the fire code is one of those. And so the question for county fire is, does this plat meet the fire code?
It absolutely does meet the fire code. Well, not the fire code. It matches the Sedgwick County Service Drive Code, which allows up to 3 homes on one lot. My contention is it's landlocking the properties distal to it.
So you find yourselves confronted with the issue of if you move forward with this, what action do you take because you have multiple options in front of you right now?
And Scott, I may chime in just to note a couple different things. I think it's helpful for Chief Timmons to have noted that, because if it was contrary to specific provisions of the fire code, then that would be a basis on which you could recommend denial. There is an option. I think the question was about what options would the applicant have. There is an option. Every applicant that has a plat in front of the subdivision committee, if they're denied, they have the option to appeal that to the Metropolitan Area Planning Commission as a whole. So that's, you all could hear that appeal essentially. I would point out, and it's a case I know that our office has mentioned several times before on plats. There's a Kansas Court of Appeals case that just reading verbatim some text from that opinion, which is that disapproval of a plat is improper where the plat conforms to all zoning and subdivision regulations and planning commission standards. And for what it's worth, I would say our service drive code is a planning commission standard. That's a code that the Board of County Commissioners adopted that would apply. Denial must be based on a violation of regulations and standards which are within the authority conferred by the enabling legislation. And that's a 2001 Kansas Court of Appeals is that I think is still good law. I'd be happy to stand for any other questions on that too.
I do have a question for county legal. I know it's been discussed previous to this about safety issues. So if we deem that the landlocked parcels north of these plats will not receive fire service, is that adequate, or do we need to have further discussion on that?
That's a really good question. I think it probably gets outside of the purview that you have here. I think that's something that it could make sense if there's concerns on that. I completely understand any concerns you may have on that, and Chief Timmons as well. I think those could maybe be addressed with other code options. Those are probably determinations, I think, more building on what Scott was saying, more pertinent in like a golden factors analysis of a zoning case, but on a plat, it's really dealing with the infrastructure and the codes that are in place, and usually doesn't involve an analysis on those types of factors as much. Does that answer your question?
It does, thank you.
Got one thing. So one area of the subdivision regulations that this plat does not meet is when it comes to stub streets. And there are typically waivers provided for stub streets, but that is essentially what is being requested for these, whether it was contingent or full-on right-of-way. And that requirement is when a proposed subdivision is adjacent to unplatted property, the platting of stub streets to provide future access to the adjacent unplatted tract shall be provided. If the adjacent unplatted tract is planned for development of a use not compatible with the property being subdivided, the requirement for a stub street dedication may be waived. So this is a requirement to have stub streets to the north and east and west, or maybe not east because there's a road over there. So this would be a requirement to the north and west.
I just want to follow up with Greg on this one. Greg, you prepared the staff report. Can you explain why that's not included as a waiver or addressed in the staff report?
Why it wasn't requested as a waiver is because the plat presented to you here does not include a public road. It just includes the access easement. So therefore, a stub street wouldn't be required. If this access easement turns into a public road or a contingent right-of-way, then the stub street connection would be required. So that's why it wasn't included as a waiver, because what was presented initially were access easements and not a public road.
Yeah, so I guess on that one, the requirements are for stub streets to any unplatted tract, but is not something that is typically fully applied when going through the subdivision regulations. There's usually not a request for that in all directions.
If I may, one option that you would have, and I hesitate to mention this one, but I think it can give you the best options would be if this is deferred to the next meeting, that would provide staff an opportunity to draft up motion language for you. And those would be different options that you could select, a menu of options you could select from. And the reason why I bring that up is because this one has evolved from complicated to very complicated from the addition of, we went from a discussion about increasing the size of the reserve for access to a contingent street dedication. Now we've identified a connection, a waiver that would be needed if that is a contingent dedication. We've also discussed that any reserve, the possibility of putting in controls that the governing body would have control over the reserve. There's just a few moving parts, so I just offer that as an option.
Commissioner Mader.
Yeah, I have a real problem acting on something I simply do not feel qualified to act on. And if we could get some recommendations as to what motion might be, I'd feel much better about it. This is, I think, more complicated than our experience allows. If the engineers can't agree and fire can't agree, I don't think we're really capable.
Commissioner High?
I agree, and I also, in my opinion, weight the opinion of the fire department at much higher weight for safety reasons.
Do we have a motion?
I move we defer this for 2 weeks or until the next meeting to see if something can be agreed to by staff. Thank you. Second.
We have a motion to defer to July 2nd by Commissioner Mader and a second by Commissioner High. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Passes 4-0. Next item, item 9, sub 2026 00035. It's a one-step final plat. It's the Garrett edition. It's in the city, located on East 16th Street North and New York Avenue. We'll hear from staff.
It's an easy one. There's no additional comments. So you're good for this one.
Any updates from the advisory board? Seeing none, any questions from the commissioners? Seeing none, the applicant or agent, do you have any questions? Okay, it's too easy. We'll bring it back to commission.
I move that we approve this as submitted and per staff comments.
A motion to approve by Commissioner Mader and a second by Commissioner Williams-Bay. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? 0. Passes 4-0. Item 10, it's sub 2026 00037. It's a one-step final plat, the Potter edition on South 183rd Street West and a half-mile north of West Maple Street. It's in the county in the 3-mile ring. We'll hear from staff.
Just to update, as mentioned in the staff report, this is within the city of Goddard area of influence, and according to our subdivision regulations and speaking with the planner there, he wanted to present this plat to the Goddard's Planning Commission. Unfortunately, their Planning Commission doesn't meet. Their June meeting already occurred, and so second Monday in July is their Planning Commission meeting. So I don't see any issues with this. So there'd probably be need to contingent approval, just based on if the city of Goddard sees anything with the plat, that would be sent back to this committee for review with their comments.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Does anyone from the advisory board have any comments or questions? Seeing none, commissioners, would you like to hear this case or have questions? Seeing none, applicant or agent, do you agree with staff comments? Is the applicant or agent available? It's your turn, Kirk. If you want to approach the podium, you have 10 minutes. Actually, no, we're just, do you agree with staff comments?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll skip that part. We'll bring it to the commission for a motion. I move that we approve this per staff comment and contingent upon the Goddard planning approval. Motion from Commissioner Klontz, a second from Commissioner High. All those in favor, please say aye. 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 Those opposed? Passes 4-0. Item number 11 is deferred to the July 2nd meeting. And we're on to vacations. Item number 12, vacation 2026-00020. It's a vacation request in the city to vacate an unused utility easement to reduce the building setback on property zoned LC. It's on East 21st Street North, within 1/4 mile east of North Webb Road. We'll hear from staff.
There are no updates for this case.
Are there any updates or questions from the Utility Advisory Board? Seeing none. Any questions from the commission? Seeing none. Applicant or agent? Do you agree? Okay. Bring it back to the commission for a motion.
Move to approve for staff comment.
I'll second that. We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Williams-Bay and a second by Commissioner Klontz. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Passes 4-0. Last item, item number 13, it's vacation 2026-00021. It's a vacation request in the county of plat and contingent easements on property zoned SF20, South 143rd Street East and within 1/2 mile south of East Harry Street. We'll hear from staff.
There are no updates for this case either. I'll just note it's, of course, related to the case we heard earlier.
Thank you. Utility Advisory Board, do you have any comments, questions? Seeing none. Does anyone from the commission have questions? Seeing none. Applicant or agent? Do you agree with staff comment? Okay. We'll bring it back to the commission for a motion.
I move we approve as submitted and per staff comment.
We have a motion by Commissioner Mader and a second by Commissioner High. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Passes 4-0. Okay, we're on to other business. Scott, would you like to speak on the May 19th meeting, or do you want to save that for it? It feels like yesterday.
Okay, yes.
Earlier
May
in the
19th.
meeting.
Okay, there's a couple of things to talk about. Number one is, yes, at the May 19th meeting, that was the one I think there was a request for additional, no, that was just the last meeting, I'm sorry. I'm going back too far in time. There was a request for additional information. It came up with Commissioner Austin, who brought up the comments about areas of the county and whether they're appropriate for development and intensity. And so I sent a follow-up email with some additional information, just links to the BOCC staff meeting, also a document that contained all of the purpose statements for the different zoning districts. And then I committed that planning staff would follow up with other departments to engage in a conversation to learn more if there are certain areas of the county where there are service providing services can be more challenging. So I just want to mention that I did send that information. If there's any questions, of course, let me know. But and then we'll continue to do the research with the different departments to see what their thoughts are. Related to that, and something that's come up in today's meeting earlier, was the County Commission exploring the idea of water availability and water quality. As part of that discussion, there's been talk about exploring the idea of requiring a larger lot size for rural residential lots, or at least properties out in the county in general. And so there is a document that we've prepared that's some draft options for changes to the Unified Zoning Code. We anticipate that would be presented at a BOCC staff meeting, and I think tentatively maybe July 7th would be that date. If that's a Tuesday, I'm pretty sure it is. So we'll be sure to send you some more information as that if that is identified as the date. So Is there anything else I'm missing? I feel like we've got a lot of things going on.
Any other discussion? Thank you for the update on that, Scott. We are adjourned.
Recording stopped.